You will see right now that I don't have any signal because I haven't started my GPRS device. You always have to start your GPRS device. So I'm going to click here on OK Hot Products just to get into the little demo that Jesus proposed. And the idea is to be able to send transactions with either SIM1 or SIM2. Again, the module for GPRS is not started, so you don't have any signal and you cannot do anything. That's very important because when you want to make sales through both SIMs, you are always going to have to switch SIM and start the module again. And that always takes time. I'm going to show you. I'm going to start SIM1 module by clicking here on my yes button. And it has to receive, then it has to init, and then it has to dial to the APN of our GPRS provider. And that really takes time. I don't think, it's going to take some time in the transaction. And if we want to do it that for example, Boost we use one and for AT&T we use another, it's going to take all this time to change from one SIM to the other until it says OK. When it says OK, you will be ready to make your transaction. So I'm going to hit here my yes button and I'm going to make my sell pin. You can see that now we have signal, okay? The signal is very good. Actually, I don't know, I have almost full signal, and I haven't tested really on low signal places, which is a good test to do, right? To take it to a place where signal is poor and see how many bars of these we can get. The sell pin is going to go to my server. I put a server in my home. It's a dummy socket server that replies the same always, but it's good for the test. Okay, so I'm going to send my server a request here, and this is how long it takes. It connects very quickly, then it receives the data that my server is sending, and there you go. I've got received free Boost pins for everyone, and it's 50, and then in the pin number I'm returning exactly the same string that I sent to the server. I just basically sent the server the IP address of the server, and it's returning back. So the communication was good. I also printed my receipt here. You can see some. I'm going to pull this one. There is more research to be done maybe with the printer, right? And the size of the fonts you can achieve. One thing that is good from this terminal is the API seems very solid. Although the documentation is kind of poor, it has plenty of functions. So you can print a dot in the printer, you can upload fonts, you can print a dot in the screen in any particular place that you want. So it gives you a lot more flexibility than did our API micro browser terminal. Okay, you can do way more stuff, and the development in C, it adds to the flexibility a lot. Okay. I'm thinking that's it. I had issues with trying the development environment in Windows 7. We're going to have to develop in Windows XP, which I think is not the end of the world. Our developers all day have Windows XP, but Windows Vista doesn't work with Visual Studio C++ 6.0, which is kind of old and is what you need to do or use to develop here. After all, it's developing C, right? So you can use, I don't know, a notepad and then compile. But it really makes it harder. You always want to have tools. I've got into the discussion also with the guys of Pimpos that we would like to have some debug tools they don't have. We would like to have some better development environment they don't have. Which adds to the, it's according to the limitations and the price of the terminal. I understand that, right? We're going to have to spend more time developing and creating the application because the terminal is a cheap one, basically. There's a big issue in terms of how the application is loaded to the terminal. And I raised this to them and they got back to me. Basically, the issue is that they don't have something like an online service where a customer can download an update of the application. If we want something like that, we will have to start developing it ourselves. Okay. We know that's a very important must-have for ours. We don't want to be in each terminal, a merchant location, updating the terminal through the cable. So we have to come up with something. They mentioned that maybe in March they are going to be delivering their online or wireless update tool. But of course, that's something we couldn't test, and it's way, way, way important, because if we have to get into the effort of doing the update server ourselves, we're going to be spending a lot of time. Remember that this is a very basic socket connection, and doing anything in socket connections is going to be hard. Okay, we're talking about downloading a file through a socket connection, checking for errors, saving the file somewhere in the terminal, and there's still plenty of information that we will have to get to be able to do it, because we need to know where the application needs to be stored and how is it going to work for the update. So I have doubts there, okay, for the updates. For cable it works perfectly, but I really have my concerns with online updates. That's it. If you want me to do more review, I can do probably a little more research on the receipts. I would really like to leave it as is for now. It's a good feedback and a good review. We are going to, here's one thing, for the development of this terminal, if we're going to be using sockets, we have, I think, two options. One that I'm thinking from the top of my head would be to use the IP terminal. IP terminal already connects Devices application terminals, and we could maybe try to leverage that server and make only the terminal part. Okay, the bad part with that is that, I don't know, maybe we need to create our own server from zero and start there, because IP terminal, what's the issue with IP terminal? I don't know, getting products, for example, goes all the way back to the activator, and we will have to just map to whatever is existing there, and maybe at one point we will feel or be limited, okay, but by what exists today. I think in terms of doing the terminal itself, if we can leverage the epiterm, we maybe are going to spend a golf ball doing a very basic version of the app. Remember that developing here, debugging is going to be tricky and hard. And finding issues like the issues we've had with Devices 4.14, with the version 4.14 of the Devices app, is going to be hard. It's just like that. We don't have debug tools. We cannot see values in the different variables at any point. So it's going to be hard. So maybe a golf ball to make the most basic of the terminals. If we want to do our own server, which is a good idea and I would go for it, maybe we can spend 2 golf balls doing the server with one and then the terminal with the other. And again, a very basic one without getting into very cumbersome